Hello everybody, welcome to Auburn, Indiana. We're here today to visit the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum, and we're also going to visit the National Truck and Automotive Museum. Basically you got the Auburn Museum right there, and then you've got the Truck Museum right behind it. And basically how that happened is the Auburn Museum was here, it was established, it was well known. They kept getting vehicles donated to them, trucks and other things that weren't Auburn Cord Duesenberg, so they decided to open up a second museum. Now, interestingly enough, this is actually the original building where Auburn Cord Duesenberg were built, and they eventually closed the business and opened up the museum. And last year or the year before, they built this parking lot. Now, we are actually here. My folks are here, and our friends Mike and Gail are here. You remember Michael from our rebuilding my father's RV. We're actually camping about 30 miles south in Fort Wayne, but we decided to leave the van down there and drive my dad's motorhome back up here so that we all had space to hang out between museums. Now when we got here, we were pleasantly surprised to see this. The museum has installed in this parking lot across the street electrical power and RV parking, and they don't charge you for it. That's right, you can come here, plug in, there's no time limit, stay all night if you want to, and you have power. And there's another RV next door to us, which I think is a fantastic service to offer to people who are traveling in RVs. Now, if you do come here, please be courteous to the museum. Don't just come here, plug in for days on end, and not go to the museum. It's only $12.50 per adult to go visit the museum, so go see the museum. Don't ruin it for everybody by taking advantage of their hospitality. Now, one other thing I want to point out before I go inside is you might notice that this video is kind of shaky. That's because I'm not using the gimbal. There is something wrong with the gimbal. When I turn it on, the camera sits crooked, and it's really bad. I don't know what to do about it. I've tried everything I can think of. The thing doesn't have any adjustments on it. It's a really sort of obscure kind of off-brand. They don't have any kind of a customer service number. So I'm kind of screwed, I think. So I'm filming this video on the selfie stick, but I did already go inside and film some parts of the museum because it was raining when we showed up, and I didn't want to be out here filming this part in the rain. So you'll notice later on in the video that parts of the museum are nice and stable and other parts are not, because I was using the gimbal inside until it started to act up. So doing my best here, folks. Okay, we're going to go to the National Auto Truck Museum first, and then we're going to save the Auburn Cord Museum for later, because that's the pièce de résistance. So we're going to go in here first and check out the unique stuff, and then we're going to check out the really nice stuff. Okay, so this is actually one of the original Cord facilities where they actually built cars like this one. This is a Cord right here in Auburn. They build these in this building right here, and in fact these two cars were built in this building, and on the other side of the parking lot is the original Cord factory, and we will go check that out later, but we're going to check out this facility first, which has some very cool stuff in it. Alright, let's start with this 1907 Stoddard Dayton Model K brass car. This is so cool. Model K Runabout. Brass. It's brass? It's brass. There was an era where cars were pretty much all brass. And this is the era. This is sort of pre-chrome, basically.
Man, it's pretty.
Yeah. They eventually came out with chrome, and people liked that better. But I believe they call this a runabout because you can take the headlights off and go right to the racetrack. It was designed to be a street legal race car, basically. Pretty much as soon as people first built cars, immediately we started racing them. And you might notice the white tires, and the interesting fact that few people know is that the natural color of rubber is actually white. So this is actually rubber in its natural state. It was only later that they started dyeing it black because it was almost impossible to keep the white tires clean. Now this, folks, is called the Future Liner. GM built a fleet of these to travel around the country and this side wall here opens up, and it becomes basically a rolling stage. And it would have displays in there showing everything GM was doing and what the future held for GM. They had a whole fleet of these things that would go all over the country. This was pre-television, basically. Okay, I don't know what this is, because they don't have any signage, but it is cool. This is very early, I'd guess even 1800s, late 1800s. Look, it's belt drive. That actually is what turns the wheel. Wow. You can literally see the evolution from horse and buggy to modern cars. You can see that this is really just a horse-drawn carriage that they put a motor on. And then from there, they progressed into what we know to be the modern car.
They actually called it the horseless carriage.
Exactly. Now these headlights, you see they have the handles on them because they're kerosene. You light them and you drive, and then when you get home, you take it off and you use it to find your way into the house. Okay, they got some kind of display over here making noise, but hopefully you can hear me over it. This truck is very interesting. This is a 1925 Mack Bulldog. This is actually where Mack got the idea for its Bulldog hood ornament. But what's interesting about this is that if you take a look closely, you'll see that the radiator is actually behind the engine. The reason they did that was because Macks were so powerful and so popular and so effective that unions for competing companies and companies that still used horses and things like that would actually be throwing rocks at the truck as it drove by. So they had to put the radiator behind the engine in order to protect it from people throwing rocks at it because they hated the truck so much. A Red Delorean. I don't even know where to start with this thing. DeLoreans were significant because of their stainless steel body. Why would somebody paint a DeLorean red? What on earth? Let's see if it says anything about it. Okay, alright, so here's what it says. It says, this car is unique because it is one of less than 30 cars to have been painted by the factory. Pittsburgh Paint and Glass had to come up with a special process to paint the stainless steel cars, as regular auto paint would not adhere. This is the original paint from that special project. Very interesting. I have never, ever seen a painted DeLorean in my life. It's actually pretty cool, but I think I prefer the stainless steel. Look at these tiny little windows. Because of the gull wing, they had to put these special kind of windows in. So cool. And of course, you cannot look at a DeLorean without thinking Back to the Future. They have become synonymous. It's a pretty sweet looking car though. Okay, and we've got my mother who has found her favorite car in the museum. She's in love with it.
I don't know how it drives, I don't know how it banks, I don't know its turning radius, I don't know whether it's smooth or not. All I know is I want it.
I'm sure it drives like a bread box.
Mine.
Now the gimbal's screwing up again.
Look at the design on the rear end of this. It looks like, you know, me. It's perfect. It's rocketry. They even bothered to put all these little tiny nubs on the back to make it look cool. I mean, let's face it, this is a design. This is a beautiful car.
If this car backed into you on the street, it would stab you.
Yes, this is Madonna's inspiration.
Yes.
Right here, she was looking at the, look at this thing. I love this thing. I want it.
My mom, since I was very little, has always been a fan of huge cars. And this definitely fits that bill. This car is gigantic. Absolutely gigantic. Now, anyone who knows me knows that I'm a fan of weird things. And this Crosley is one of those things. Look how cute this is. 1952 Crosley Super. Little 26 horsepower 4-cylinder engine. Oh my god, is that adorable. They got another one right behind it, a little Crosley truck with a trailer and everything. Oh no, oh no. Look at this. Look at the little bulldozer. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. This is too funny. Oh, come on. Okay, that was cool. So obviously I didn't show you the entire thing because I want you to actually come to the museum and see things for yourself. But I showed you the interesting stuff to get you interested, hopefully. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to have lunch in the RV, and then we're going to go to the really nice museum. Okay, now we're going to go inside the Duesenberg Museum. Everybody else is already in there. I had to go back and get my microphone because I forgot it. Now this is the nice museum. This is the one that's $12.50 per person and totally worth every penny. If you like cars. I mean, if you're not interested in cars, then you probably won't care. But if you care at all about cars, this is definitely something to check out. Okay, I'm sure all of you have heard the term, it's a doozy, or that's a doozy. That comes from the manufacturer of this car, which is, of course, Duesenberg. Back in the 20s and 30s, Duesenberg was the car of the stars. If you were anybody, you had a Duesenberg. One of the first examples of a boat tail ever created. It was such a unique design. Nobody else was doing this at the time. It was a custom top. So this is a 851 Auburn Speedster, supercharged, designed by one Gordon Burig. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. Burig. Anyway, this is an absolutely beautiful car. Look how sleek it is. It looks like it's going 100 miles an hour, just sitting here in the showroom. I love the exhaust out at the side of the hood like that. And black and red with the gray top. Unbelievable. I mean, look at the style on this car. Now, when you think 1937 Cord, this is what you picture. With that freight train looking front grille and the big fenders sticking out the side. Unreal. So sleek and aerodynamic. Look at how long the hood is on this thing. 1932 Cord. The hood is as long as the African Queen. Good God. This car is huge. Mom, stand next to this car so they can get an idea of just how big that hood is. Look at the size of this car. Thank you very much. This car is massive. Oh, and it's a chauffeur car. See, you got the glass divide between the chauffeur and whoever wealthy person is riding in the back. Very cool. And now this, by the way, folks, for those of you who aren't familiar with antique cars, this is how we got the term trunk for the storage part in your car, because originally that's exactly what it was. It was just a trunk mounted on the back of the car. I love this car. I even like the color. We got a 1930 Cadillac V16. Oh, baby. Oh. Now this is style. Look at that. Now, it says over here that in 1930, this car would sell for $5,350, $5,350, which, to put that into perspective, in 1930, the Model A was selling for about $350. So this was a very expensive car. 1930 Duesenberg. This is my mother's favorite car in the entire museum. And again, it's massive. Yep. Boy, cars back then were big.
My love affair with huge cars.
Uh-huh. Look at this with the little bar that pops open in the back for cocktails or whatever while you're driving, while you're being chauffeured. What a car. Okay, this is a 1929 Lincoln, and this car is special because when I was growing up, my grandfather always talked about cars like this. He thought it was really, really classy that if you owned this car, your chauffeur had to get wet, but you didn't, because the chauffeur part had no roof. So the chauffeur has to get wet and you don't. He thought that was really something. So cool. Got a couple of jumper seats for guests. This is stylish. Okay, this one is special. This is a 1899 Waverly electric car. Original and unrestored. I mean, you can clearly see the horse and buggy, just modified to run without the horse. Look at the huge electric motor between the rear tires. Wow. It could go 12 to 14 miles per hour for 35 to 40 miles on a single charge. And we've managed to double that in 100 years. Okay, this is a Bugatti engine. How many cylinders?
It looks like it has 8 on each side, so
16 cylinders.
Duesenberg Motor Company, so
Duesenberg
made this.
Duesenberg made this, but look, it's not a V. It's actually an inline.
Yes,
two straight eights. How does that even work? I can't imagine how the connecting system, the connecting rods and the crankshaft even look. Very interesting.
I don't know.
That's possible, actually. But look at the size of this thing compared to this other engine we found. This is a 1946 Crosley Cobra engine, Put your hand down by it so I can get a size reference.
It says,
oh my God.
that's those mini cars we saw in the other one.
It's tiny.
And it says the upper portion of the engine is made of 4 cylinders and a simple metal box. This engine was fabricated using sheet metal.
Sheet metal.
No block.
No way.
And that powered those little tiny cars we saw.
Oh man.
It's called a Cobra engine. A complete engine weighs a minute 59 pounds.
That's funny. Okay, this is funny. Get a load of my mom enjoying the museum. Hey, Mom. That's awesome. Okay, that was the Auburn Court Duesenberg Automobile Museum here in Auburn, Indiana. Obviously, I did not show you the entire museum. I'm just giving you sort of a sneak peek because I want you to actually go to the museum. So now we're gonna head back to the RV and we're gonna go back down to Fort Wayne where we are camping. There is a Hudson meet going on down there that we're gonna check out. So we'll see y'all down there. All right, everybody, we're here back in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is about 20 miles south of Auburn where we just were. And they're having a nice Hudson Club meet here. And we're here with our old friend Mike Riley. You probably remember him from when we rebuilt my father's Class C RV. And Michael was kind enough to bring his 1933 Essex Terraplane. He drove this car all the way from Pontiac, Michigan. How long did that take?
About 6 hours.
6 hours.
6 hours.
1933 Essex, no air conditioning or anything fancy that modern cars have.
It has air conditioning.
Oh, really?
Would you like to see that?
Why don't you show us the air conditioning?
Air conditioning.
That's your air conditioning. Okay. All right, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about the car, where you got it, and how long you've had it?
I bought the car in 1979, sitting in 4 inches of muck with trees growing up through it. We bought it in Waterford, Michigan. It was not in pristine, beautiful condition.
Okay, but you're not really a rat rod person, huh?
Not so much.
Okay, so how long has it taken you to bring it from where it was to where it is today?
It took us about 20 years to find enough parts and collect enough money to put it back together. Took me 18 years to find the front bumper. And
how long has it been drivable?
Since 2000.
Okay.
So it's got 17 years and 35,000 miles on it since we got it kind of done.
All right, not too bad. So why don't you show us the engine?
Sure.
So what kind of engine is that?
It's an inline six flathead. It's got a single barrel carburetor on it. And that's about it.
Fairly simple, huh?
Fairly simple, not like today's cars. It doesn't have any black magic boxes, no computer, no entire list of vacuum lines and electronic stuff.
Okay. Now, how about the interior? Have you done anything special about the interior with the interior?
The interior, my wife and I completely redid. She did anything that was sewn, and I did anything that was glued. Okay. The headliner we put in, that's the first piece of interior that goes in. It took Gail quite a while to get that part done. And actually attached to the steering column, you'll see the auxiliary air conditioner.
Now, is that appropriate for 1933?
That is appropriate for 1933. That came out of a 1936 Terraplane.
Very nice. So, how fast would this car go out of the factory, off the factory floor?
Off the factory floor, this is supposed to drive 85 miles an hour. I've had this car at 75 miles an hour, and it's like it's like roller skating on marbles. It just bounces right and left and all over the place. And it really doesn't matter how fast you drive it, it's how fast you can stop it. And if you're doing more than 35, it's scary.
So I've given to understand that older cars like this are kind of notorious for not being able to stop very well.
Well, yeah, but some guys manage to get them to stop. I'm having a bit of a struggle with that, but I've listened to a few people here just today and learned a couple little tricks today that we're going to try when we get home and see if we can make it stop better.
Very nice. So now you drive this car all over the place, don't you? This isn't a trailer queen.
We drive this car. This is not a trailer queen. If it's on the trailer, it's usually on its way to be repaired for something. So if you see it on a trailer, call the cops because it's probably stolen.
Okay. So Michael, I can't help but notice these stickers here that say Newport, Indiana Hill Climb. What is that?
It's a really fun little project. They do a hill climb. It's a quarter-mile hill, and it's a 14% grade, and basically pre-war cars, all or mostly original. And we used to take the car down there to this hill climb, and we would do fairly well. Came in first a couple of times in our class, the 6-cylinder.
So you're telling me that people actually take antique cars and they do a hill climb
Yeah.
and really work these cars hard?
Yeah. You start. It's a paved hill. It's not dirt and stuff like that. But you're sitting at a drag racing Christmas tree, and you, as the lights come down and eventually turn green, you pop the clutch, spin the tires, and leave a little bit of rubber on the ground, and you go up the hill as fast as you can. Some people leave a little more than rubber on the ground. They leave little bits of transmission and things like that. But so far I've been lucky and haven't left much more than just rubber on the ground.
Now, have you done anything to this car to make it more comfortable, more drivable, anything like that, other than the seatbelts?
We did the seatbelts, and we do have a 1940 Hudson Overdrive bolted onto the back of the transmission. So it is a little bit of a cheat, but it makes it so much nicer when we're driving the car to drive it at a reasonable speed for the engine, yet still have a reasonably safe speed to drive.
What's a relatively comfortable cruising speed for this car?
50 to 55.
That's pretty good speed.
We can drive it on the highway. I don't like to because people are silly.
Okay. Well, Michael, I appreciate you showing it to us. I think it's time we take a little ride. What do you think about that?
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
then, we're back at our campground now. You might notice I've changed my shirt. Well, that's because it's actually the day after everything you just saw, because I was going to make that one video and then make another video today, because we went down to Decatur, Indiana, to the Fleetwood RV manufacturing company for the factory where they make the RVs, and got a tour. I was gonna make a video of that tour, only to find out when I got there, they don't allow any videography or photography during the tour because of, I don't know, they want manufacturing secrets, blah, blah, blah. So, I couldn't make a video of that. So, I'm gonna have to wrap up this trip here and make it one video. So, anyway, I just wanted to show you this real quick before we finish up. This is our campground. We are at the Johnny Appleseed Park here in Fort Wayne. They've managed to carve out this really nice park here in the middle of Fort Wayne with big trees. It's nice and quiet. There's a river over there. And this is our setup. Obviously, I got the African Queen, and my dad's Princess is over here. Let's see, they got sort of a communal water thing going on over here. I'm plugged into it. A couple other RVs are plugged into it. It leaks like crazy. Somebody's hose is spraying water everywhere. Anyway, so my dad's plugged in, and the African Queen has water and power. So yeah, that's that. One more thing before I say goodbye. I mentioned it at the beginning of my last video, and I have unfortunately made the decision to not bring Frank on the road anymore. It's definitely not the way I wanted things to turn out, but I have to face facts, and the fact is he hates it. He's terrified of the van. He doesn't like new places. He's nervous, and I just don't want to put him through the stress. So I'm going to leave him at home where he feels safe and comfortable, and I have something else in the works right now that I will reveal when it actually happens. It should happen sometime next week. So I hope you all keep on watching. Don't give up on me just because Frank won't be around. I'll try to post video of him anytime I'm at home working on the Queen. I'll try to get some video of him for you. But in the meantime, I think you'll like what else I'm working on. I think you'll like the new addition to the Ramblin' Michigander channel, who is arriving next week. So that is all for today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/RamblinMichigander. Oh, and I have gotten some questions for the Q&A that's coming up. If there's anybody else out there who has any more questions, post in the comments below or email ramblinmichigander@gmail.com. Okay? Have a good night, everybody.